Did you know that there were, in fact, enslaved African Americans in California? Yes, California technically was a slave state. It was only free in name only. Hi, I'm Camila Moore, and I'm the chairperson of the First in the Nation California Reparations Task Force. This is the second video in a series of videos that I'll personally be producing to educate folks about the historic findings in our 500-page, 13-chapter interim report that the task force released in 2022. You can find the digital copy of this report on our website at oag.ca.gov/AB3121. Here is a picture of an African American enslaved man during the Gold Rush era, and you can find this information on ACLU's Northern California website and listen to their Gold Chains podcast. You can find these facts in our historic interim report, again, Chapter 2 on enslavement. A Gold Rush source estimated that 1,500 enslaved African Americans lived in California in 1852. Oftentimes, people learn that California was a free state and they cite the Compromise of 1850. However, it's important to note that free states weren't necessarily free states out of benevolence or because they were abolitionists, right? It's important to note that most white Northerners' opposition to the westward expansion of enslavement was based on self-interest and not necessarily based on benevolence or abolitionist views. They argued that new Western territory should be free soil so that free white people could have access to inexpensive farmland and opportunities to build wealth without having to compete with wealthy white enslavers and enslaved people. With that context, you'll be able to understand how slavery was able to persist in California, a so-called free state. In fact, California's early state governments protected the institution of enslavement and greatly limited African American civil rights. Take 3 African American enslaved men, for instance, Carter Perkins, Robert Perkins, and Sandy Jones, who were taken to California by Charles Perkins, a white Mississippian who owned the Perkins Plantation, to California in 1849 to mine for gold. These 3 African American men were enslaved and forced to migrate west, leaving their wives and children behind. Charles Perkins then had to go back to the South and left his 3 enslaved Black men in the care of a friend. The friend said these men could be freed after a certain amount of time. They were set free, created their own gold mining business, raising over $100,000 until California passed the Fugitive Slave Act. After California passed the Fugitive Slave Law, Charles Perkins filed a successful claim for his 3 men. Sandy Jones, Robert Perkins, and Carter Perkins were then to be deported to the South to be re-enslaved. Legend has it they escaped in Panama on the way to Mississippi, but we'll never know. Stay tuned to part 2.